Let's build P.U.N.K. Punk! And welcome back to Let's Build, the show where I sit down with an archetype I have never played before, and I try my best to build it from scratch. I'm Hardleg Joe, if you didn't know, and today we are building Punk, an archetype that's set around synchros, and I guess they've got one fusion monster, and they're kind of themed around music. I don't really know. I'm not exactly sure how these work. I just know they synchro summon sometimes. But we're gonna figure that out. I'm here, as always, on Twitch with Twitch Chat. Twitch Chat, go ahead and say hello. Put some of your favorite punk songs in there. Music is not real. American idiot. Whip and Nay Nay. I don't think those are punk songs. I don't think they know any punk music. To be fair, I'm not exactly an expert, but that's fine. We don't need to understand punk music in order to build the deck. But yeah, if you're new here, if you're unfamiliar with the Let's Build process, this is a blind deck building show. I'm just gonna be going in, reading over all these cards, and trying to figure out how they fit together, trying to solve the puzzle of punk in real time. As a result, this will not be the best punk deck, or even necessarily a good punk deck, but it should teach you how decks are built, so that if you're new to Yu-Gi-Oh! Or new to this archetype, you have an idea of what all the pieces are, how they fit together, and perhaps how you can build decks of your own. So as per usual, when building a deck, there's one place we gotta start right off, one place that's always the prime starting point for learning a deck. Chat, do you perhaps know what that might be? Reading, yes, reading is important, but the field spell specifically is what we have to read. Field spells generally have unifying effects. They tend to get everything about the archetype and put it into one package. And Punk does have a field spell, although I've only played a couple Punk decks, but I don't think I've ever actually seen this, so maybe this will be the one time I'm wrong. Let's see. We've got Punk Jam Extreme Session, which is just very colorful artwork. I'm not familiar with what I'm looking at. This guy's doing like a field goal sign, or maybe he's like bringing in air traffic. I'm not exactly sure. Anyway, once per turn, you can banish one Punk card from your graveyard, special summon one Punk monster from your hand. If a psychic monster you control paid life points to activate its effects, you can draw one card. You can use this effect up to twice per turn. So at the beginning of this, I was kind of meh. As I mentioned in the Ice Jade episode, usually field spells are the starters. They search you a card. Seeing something like banish one from the graveyard to summon one out of your hand fills me with a little bit of dread, because it means it's a field spell that's only good once you're already set up. You have to have cards in the graveyard. But that second effect is pretty nice. When a psychic monster pays life points, you can draw cards, and you can use that twice per turn. So this card lets you draw two, and it also lets you know that your monsters are probably going to be paying life points to activate their effects. So I'm going to tentatively put this at 3. It's Pot of Greed, assuming we pay a lot of life points, and I assume that that will happen. So from there, I guess we'll find out. Generally, the question here is whether or not you look at the synchros first or the regular monsters. Usually I would go for the boss monsters because that's what you're trying to make. But because this has an effect that specifically deals with paying life points, and because I know that some of the lower level monsters pay life points to do things, I think we want to start with them. We want to see how these relate to the field spell, and then we'll figure out, what their actual payoff is after the fact. As for which main deck monsters we start with, because this is a synchro archetype, I think we go with the lower level ones first. In many decks, you do want to start with the higher levels, but because these are the tuners, and tuners tend to be your main playmakers in synchro decks, I think we're going to start low and then go high. Which means this guy's first, Yugioh Punk Sharakusai. I think I pronounced that right. He's got the baggiest pants imaginable, and he's wielding what looks like an airplane antenna? I don't know. He does have Super Saiyan hair and Gurren Lagann glasses. Alright, as for the stats, it's a Psychic Tuner, 1200 attack, 600 defense. I don't think the attack and defense matters. I'm not going to talk about those. Level 3, which, real quick, let's just look. We've got a 3, a 3, a 3, a 3, a 5, and 2 8s. So 8, 9, 10, 11, I'm going to assume, if you're a Synchro deck, 3 plus 8. Yeah, there's an 11, and there's an 8? 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I guess that's how you get to there. The fusion, he's on the fusion, so maybe we'll have to read that next. But yeah, it looks like they're all level 3s, and they go with the 8s to make this big boss monster or whatever. As for the effect, you can pay 600 life points. There you go, you get to draw. Fusion summon a P.U.N.K fusion monster from your extra deck, using monsters from your hand or field as material. Well, that's why he's on the fusion monster, I guess. We've solved that mystery. During your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can pay 600 life points. Immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon one P.U.N.K synchro monster using monsters you control as material. You can only use each effect of this guy once per turn. Alright, so he fusions, and then as a quick effect, he can synchro summon with cards on the field. So if our synchro monsters have some kind of trigger effect that activates when they're summoned, this is a way to get it off during the opponent's turn. Granted, you have to leave this on the field, and we're still not quite sure what the fusion monster does. I'm tempted to read that. I generally don't want to go back and forth like this, but whether or not this card is good really depends on if the fusion does anything. So I guess we'll go ahead and take a little sidetrack, and let's see what Yugioh P.U.N.K Rising Carp does. Fusion monster takes any 2 P.U.N.Ks, alright, so you could use pretty much the whole archetype. 1000 attack, 2600 defense, so you're not going to be attacking with this. You contribute this fusion summoned card, special summon up to 2 P.U.N.K monsters with different names each from your hand and or deck, except level 8 monsters. Oh, okay, gotcha. In defense position. If you synchro summon using this card as material, you can target one P.U.N.K monster you control. It can make a second attack during each battle phase this turn. You can only use each effect once per turn. Alright, this is really interesting. At first I was like, that's a unique way to get the 2 synchro materials onto the field. You can, fusion summon with this and like a level 3, so if you get all tuners, you just make this, and then this tributes off for a tuner and a non-tuner, except you can't summon the level 8s, and we don't have a level 6. So I guess, we do have the level 5. So I guess you summon the 5 and a tuner, and then that lets you go into the 8, and then I think if I'm not mistaken, the 8 lets you get into the 11. So it's a really roundabout way. It can also be a way to just turn two level 3s into a level 8 if you need it, and then you can synchro this with the level 3 to make your level 11, and it can attack twice. So I'm going to tentatively say, yeah, you want to play one of these just in case you need to use it. I'm not sure how hard it is to search and get stuff on the field, if this is something that you want to do, or something that's like a last-ditch emergency. But I'll tentatively say we'll play at least one of him. We'll put the other 2 in the side deck. If it looks like this might be an optimal way to get your monsters on the board, we can always increase it or get rid of it. But for now, it's a maybe. Okay, from here, let's go ahead back where we were to the lower level monsters. Going into this big purple lady with the big hair, the biggest hair. This is Joruri P.U.N.K Madame Spider. Wheel of Time reference. My Wattheads out there will get this. Another level 3 tuner. Pay 600 life points. Draw a card with the field spell. Add 1 P.U.N.K trap from your deck to your hand. When you activate a P.U.N.K card or effect that targets a card your opponent controls, quick effect, target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, its attack becomes halved until the end of this turn. You can only use each effect once per turn. Very strange indeed. So it searches something, which is, I would expect that out of a tuner, but it gains an effect if you leave it on the field, which is not something you usually see out of stuff that's going to be used as synchro material. And then its effect only works when you use another P.U.N.K card that targets a card your opponent controls. Then you can target an additional monster and have its attack. Alright, so like this guy, I find myself having to take a little diversion. Is this worth playing? Depends if the traps are any good. So let's take a moment. We've got 2 traps. Let's just read over the traps real quick. This one has her name on it and seems to be showing what's under all that spooky hair. A nightmare Five Nights at Freddy's demon, perhaps? Dangerous Gabu, which is... That's a fun name. That might be a good name for a punk band. I would listen to DG, you know? You can target one effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of this turn. Then, if you control a punk monster, gain life points equal to the targeted monster's original attack. You can only use 1 Dangerous Gabu per turn. Alright, hard once per turn, negates but doesn't destroy, gains life points, which I guess you are paying life points, but that barely seems worth it. It is searchable though, so maybe we might want to play it. What's the other one do? Joruri Punk, Nasharwi Surprise. Haha! Target 1 set card your opponent controls, or if you control a punk monster, you could target a face-up card, destroy it. You can only activate 1 surprise per turn. Alright, so they didn't give us a negate and a destroy, they gave us a negate and also a destroy. We've got 1 of each, you get to choose. Those are both fairly decent. In sprite format specifically, which we're building this for the current Master Duel format, being able to destroy a card, that's pretty good at the moment. So we'll say yes for now. Again, tentatively, 1 of each. Maybe we'll play more of these, but it really depends if we're a go first deck that's going to rely on traps, or if we're going to be doing more stuff like going second. Maybe this is a blind build. That's generally how I frame things, is like go first deck or go second deck. And I'm uncertain now, but either way, it's not too bad to have at least 1 just in case. Okay, moving on to our 3rd level 3 tuner, we got Gagaku Punk Wagon. You can pay 600 life points, add a punk spell from your deck to your hand. I'm starting to see a theme here. When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets punk monsters you control, or when your opponent monster targets 1 for attack, you can quick effect draw 1 card. You can only use each effect once per turn. Very strange playstyle. They give you these tuners and then give you effects that, like, well, if they get stranded, they can at least do something. You know, if this effect gets, like, veilered and this is stuck here, then at least you draw a card when they attack into it. That's nice. But yet again, now we've got a spell searcher, and I don't know what most of the spells do. So let's take another detour. This is the world of detours, the detour archetype. And let's see what these 2 spells do. It looks like they're both continuous. Let's start with this one first. Crash Beat. If your opponent activates a card or effect that targets your punk monsters, you can target 1 card your opponent controls and destroy it. You can only use this effect once per turn. If this card in the owner's spell trap zone is destroyed by the opponent's card effect, you can activate this effect. This turn, your opponent cannot target punk monsters you control with card effects, and they can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So this is something that, like, in certain formats, you might be able to play 1 of these. There's not really a whole lot of targeted destruction and removal at the moment, where this would be good enough to play, I don't think. Maybe consider it for the side deck, but right now it's Gagaku Garbo. Am I right? Okay, let's see what this one is. Wild Pickin', I'm getting wild. Oh hey, and he's doing the, like, rock, while playing a, is that a gaigium? A gaigium? I forget exactly what it's called, but it's like a traditional Korean instrument. At the start of the damage step, if your punk monster battles an opponent's monster, you can destroy that opponent's monster. You can only use this effect once per turn. If this card in its owner's spell trap zone is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can activate this effect. Punk monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle this. Alright, this is a little better than the previous one. It turns whatever you have into a cataster, but it's only once per turn, which means it blocks like 1 attack and not another attack. The not being destroyed by battle is nice, so if they get rid of it to stop from like having to deal with it, then your monsters just aren't destroyed. I still think this is a very strong maybe. I mean, this does search the field spell, so maybe you play this just to get the field spell more consistently. I'll put these both in, but these are a very tentative maybe. So far, none of these tuners look particularly good. But let's look with this one. I think this is the one that's the most played. No P.U.N.K Xiamen. You can pay 600 life points, add 1 P.U.N.K monster from your deck to your hand, except a copy of itself. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 P.U.N.K monster you control. It gains 600 attack. You can only use each effect once per turn. Alright, so a monster that searches the other monsters. And if this wasn't the last one that we read, this would be like, okay, in order to find out if this is good, we have to take a diversion to read the other monsters. But that's what we're going to do anyway. But I'm going to go ahead and say this is a 3-of automatically, because this is a synchro deck. You're going to need monsters. I'm not sure which ones you'll need yet, but I know you're going to need them. And if nothing else, it makes all the other ones searchable, so yeah. Moving on to the newest piece of support, and the one that people make kind of a big deal of. We just got this in Master Duel. No P.U.N.K Deer Note, the only level 5 monster in the deck. And it's also not a psychic, it's a warrior for some reason. Kind of interesting. You can reveal 1 other P.U.N.K monster in your hand, special summon either the revealed monster or this card, and send the other card to the graveyard. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target 1 P.U.N.K monster in your graveyard, except a level 5, special summon it, but you cannot special summon Noah P.U.N.K Deer Note for the rest of this turn. You can only use each effect of Deer Note once per turn. Alright, so I'm kind of familiar with how this works a little bit. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to get this on the field in like a level 3, and then you make the level 8, and then because you use this as synchro material, it goes from the field to the graveyard, you can summon back one of the tuners, and then you use the 8 plus the tuner to make a level 11. I didn't make this a level 11, there's another one that we're definitely going to be putting in here, but you do want to play this. Now the big question is, what do you play this at? Because when you play this as an engine, you only need the 1 copy of Deer Note. But in a pure P.U.N.K deck, you might want to play more, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, on the one hand, it is always live, as long as there's another P.U.N.K in hand, you can just reveal it. But it really sucks that you have to discard that monster, because none of them have graveyard effects so far. So you're discarding it for like no effect. It would be cool if you could reveal a level 3, summon this, and then summon that. But then I guess they'd have to lock you into P.U.N.Ks or something, because otherwise that's just a free level 8 of anything as long as you have 2 P.U.N.Ks. Although maybe that's not that bad in the modern format. Either way, let's go ahead. We've got the 2 level 8s. Let's check them out real quick. So first level 8, Noah P.U.N.K Ogre Dance. This is a level 8 fiend with 2500 attack, so it might actually be worth summoning on its own. And once per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can make this card gain attack equal to an opponent's monster's original attack until the end of the turn. So this really has some unique effects on the field. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. You can tribute 1 P.U.N.K monster, special summon this from your hand. You can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard, add 1 P.U.N.K monster from your deck to your hand, except a level 8. Alright, so this one I'm going to say is a 3-of, especially if we're playing pure P.U.N.K, which is what we're going to start with the assumption, just because of that last effect. This card can discard itself to add any other P.U.N.K from your deck to your hand. So that makes all these 1-ofs now viable, because we now have got a thing that can search it. And then even if it's in your hand, you can tribute anything on the field to special summon it. And it's not awful on the field. You'll probably still want to synchro it off. But, you know, just the fact that, like, you know, you summon one of these, you activate the effect, it gets Veilered, you can just be like, okay, tribute it off for 2500 that can boost its attack. It's not the best, but it's better than a lot of cards where you summon your starter, get negated, and just fucking die. So that leaves us with the last main deck monster, Noah P.U.N.K Foxy Tune. She's a foxy lady. Literally, this a fox. I don't care the attractiveness. No, not. It's a fox. It's a literal fox. All right. 2300 attack, 2600 attack. This is a beast. Also not a psychic. Once per turn, when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, gain life points equal to that monster's original attack. Ugh. You can only use each of the following effects of Foxy Toon once per turn. Tribute a punk monster, special summon this from your hand. You can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard, send one card from your hand to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon one punk monster from your deck, except a level 8 monster. Alright, that is interesting. So on the one hand, this not only searches everything, this summons everything out of the deck. But you have to discard this and another card, which sucks because again, there's not really a whole lot of cards that get effects in the graveyard, although the field spell does let you banish those cards in order to summon from the hand. So you do get a little bit of something. I'm going to tentatively also put this at 3, just because we need non-tuners, and also, again, it gets everything. Which is this very strange position we're in, right? Where all the tuners are like 1-ofs, and then everything else is just a 3-of. All the high-level cards are what you're playing a lot of. Alright, so all that leaves then is the synchro monsters. What are the actual payoffs to all these summonings that we're doing? And let's start with the lower level one. We've got Punk Jam Dragon Drive. Level 8 Psychic Synchro. Takes a Psychic Tuner and a non-tuner. 2700 attack. Not bad, not bad. And if this card is special summoned by the effect of a Punk card or Synchro summoned, you can pay 600 life points, which activates the field spell. Take one level 3 Psychic monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. If your opponent activates a card or effect in response to a Punk card effect or activation, while this card is in the graveyard, you can special summon this card. You can only use each effect once per turn. Interesting, very interesting. So if it's synchro summoned or special summoned by the effect of a Punk card. And I was trying to think back, we've read everything, there's nothing that really summons punks from the graveyard, except it summons itself when your opponent activates anything in response. They try to negate, they try to chain to something, this comes back, and then when it does, you can either add a level 3 Psychic from your deck to your hand, or send it to the graveyard, which again is weird, because there's no graveyard synergy. Why does this deck send stuff to the graveyard? Why does it have any graveyard things? I don't get it. Maybe there's some other... It's specifically a level 3 Psychic, so this might be a case where we're gonna have to sit down and read every level 3 Psychic to see what the heck this has synergy with. But I'm gonna tentatively say we want to play at least 2 of these, because this seems like a stepping stone, and getting it in the graveyard can be very annoying, because it just keeps coming back as long as they interact with you. Alright, and all that leaves then is Yugioh Punk Amazing Dragon. Ooh, ah, sparkly, shiny. The colors, Duke, the colors. This is a level 11 Sea Serpent Synchro with 3000 attack, generic materials. If this card is Synchro summoned, you can target cards your opponent controls up to the number of level 3 Psychics with different names you control, and in the graveyard, return them to the hand. So was that the payoff to putting things in the graveyard? Is that why we've got a couple effects that want you to put level 3s there? Just so Amazing Dragon can bounce more cards? I mean, you're already going to have at least one just from making this, most likely. I guess being able to bounce 2 or 3 is pretty good, but anything after that is just showing off. Like, your opponent's not going to have that many cards to bounce. That does kind of put this guy into perspective, though, because being able to summon this during your opponent's turn is pretty nice. And I guess that kind of makes sense now why you might want to have, like, this and a level 8 on the field. Granted, the level 8s don't do anything. These do something, but you wouldn't want to have... Let me read this again. Quick effect, you can immediately synchro summon using monsters you control as material, but it doesn't say you have to use this. So we might actually be in a sort of a Crystron scenario, where what we want to end on is like an ogre dance or a foxy tune with one of these, and then we can plus off their effects, and then once the opponent does something, we can synchro summon using these two by triggering this effect in order to make the amazing dragon. Either that or we can just summon this like going second and bounce a bunch of stuff in OTK, because I mean, if we make it with Rising Carp, that's 6,000 damage right there. Not sure if it's necessarily worth all the effort to try to synchro on the opponent's turn, but it's there. What's the rest of this do real quick? You can target one punk monster in your graveyard, except for Amazing Dragon, special summon it. You can only use this effect once per turn. Alright, so this does all the graveyard stuff. Not only does it have effects based on the number of level 3s in the graveyard, but it also brings things back. So it triggers Dragon Drive. If you've already used Dragon Drive to get here, then you can send whatever and then this can bring it back. So this is the epitome of a boss monster. This brings everything into focus. It's just a pity that this is the only card that really does anything with the graveyard. I'm still going to tentatively put it at 2, because you probably want to play 2 of them. You could probably get away with just 1, depending on if this is a go first or a go second build. But definitely 2 for now. So now we're in a bit of a conundrum. We have all the cards in the archetype figured out. We know what they all do. But it's still not clear what kind of playstyle works best for this. Are we meant to do a go first control deck? Are we meant to go second? I mean, it's clear they kind of wanted the go first because they have, again, this setup where you're going to be synchroing during the opponent's turn, having these quick effects, but none of them are good. Like, there's the payoff is like bouncing 3 cards, maybe. The payoff is, what does this do again? When your opponent targets a card you control, you can have the attack of their monster. That's not really going to matter because you're going to bounce everything back anyway. So I think what we're going to do is, like I said before, we're going to do the filter on here. We know that there's some synergy with level 3 psychic monsters. So we're going to go ahead and go to monster type. We're going to say psychic. We're going to go to level. We're going to say only level 3s. Apply that. Get rid of the punk. And we're just going to read all the level 3 psychics. Well, we should probably make sure they're effect monsters too. There we go. I don't want to read the normal monsters. I don't care about that. And let's see if there's anything good. There's only 2 pages, so that's not very many. Of course, you on YouTube won't have to watch all this. It's only Twitch chat that's going to have to sit here quietly while I read 24 cards. But that's the work that goes into making a deck yourself. Alright, after reading everything through, looking at all the level 3 monsters that are psychic, we came with a couple options. There's Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. You could search this with Jam Dragon Drive, and I think we're gonna go ahead and we're just gonna put 3 of these in there. Because another thing we've decided is that we're gonna make a go second version of this deck. I don't think it's necessarily better than the go first version, because again, there's so much setup where you can do things to disrupt your opponent, which I guess does give this a little bit of flexibility. But the last 2 Let's builds I've done, one was like me making a whole bunch of Floodgates and Vendread, and the other one was Ice Jades, which is like discount Floodgate Warehouse. So we're gonna swap things up. We're gonna try to make a go second build of this, and see if we can take it on some duels and actually break some boards with this. And part of playing go second is playing a whole bunch of hand traps so we can disrupt our opponent. And by the way, let's just go ahead while we're at it, reset all the filters, get me that dang old Max C. We've got to play it. It's the most optimal card, and it will remain the most optimal card until they hashtag ban Max C. Which, no, I will not shut up about. I'm going to keep saying it until they do it, or until they themselves. If Konami tells me to shut up, maybe I will. Maybe I will. But for now, 3 Maxi, 3 Ash Blossom, 2 Called by the Grave, and do we want to put the cross out in there? We'll put it in there for now. Maybe play Nobleman of Cross out as well, just to be extra sure? No, I don't think we will. Alright, so now that we've got that in there, I think we should go back and reevaluate the punks. So what our strategy is going to be is we're going to make this guy, the Amazing Dragon, and we're going to try to bounce their entire board by getting a whole bunch of level 3s in the graveyard. And we're going to hopefully make this with like Rising Carp so it can attack for double 3,000. Or we're going to make 2 level 11 synchros. You see, there is another level 11 synchro we can make, and we should probably talk about that before we get any further, because that's going to be a main part of the win condition, no matter what kind of build you do. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce you to Pep, Psychic and Punisher, who has just the busiest, most messiest art I've ever seen. Like, what even is this? If you're somehow unfamiliar with this thing, it is 3,500 attack, generic materials, level 11. While your life points are less than or equal to your opponent's, this synchro summoned card is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects. Once per turn, you can pay 1,000, target 1 monster you control and 1 card your opponent controls, banish both of them. At the start of the battle phase, you can make this card gain attack equal to the difference between your life points and your opponent's life. So already 3,500, but then if you're going to be playing Punk and paying like 600 life points over and over again, drawing a bunch of cards, this guy's going to get up past 4,000. This plus the Amazing Dragon plus something else, or just this plus a double attacking dragon, that's going to be more than enough to end a game. So we're going to put that in there. And then even if you don't end the game, you know, having this is nigh unstoppable sometimes. It's pretty good. Are there any other level 11s that we want to go? Let me look through these real quick, but I don't think so, because this requires 3 materials. This is like the old standby level 11, which just has 3,200 attack. Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily great. I mean, actually, you might want to just go for this one, since it's also generic and just has 100 more attack. I guess if you just want a beat stick, sure. This requires a wind tuner, and this requires Majestus Drag. Yeah, so there's not much else we can make. There's probably more level 8s we can make, but we'll get to that in a little bit. For now, we know that we want to end on these, and that paying more life points is good. So we need to think about the ratios we're going to have here. For one, I don't think that we're playing the traps anymore, because we're not even going to be playing that part of it. So Madam Spider and her traps, they're out. Wagon can add a spell. I don't think we want the Wild Pickin'. I don't think they're going to have a monster for us to do attack if we do everything well. But we're still going to play it because it searches the field spell. The question is, do we even play the field spell at 3? Because Wagon can summon it, and these can search the Wagon. I think we're just going to play it at 1. That's what the people in chat are saying. We can always add more of it if we feel like later, but for now, let's just play it at 1. Okay, after thinking it over, we want to get the maximum number of draws off the Jam Extreme session, which means we want to be able to pay life points twice with 2 of our punks. Xiamen we're obviously going to activate because this searches like literally everything. But Wagon is going to be searching the jam session itself, so we're not going to be activating this while we have the field spell unless we get really lucky. So that makes me think that we want to try to get into a version that always uses Shirakusai. So I'm going to put this at 3, and then we're going to summon the Deer Note from the deck because we're going to make the Rising Carp if we can. It's from hand and or deck, so I don't think we even need 2 Deer Note. I think we might be fine with just 1. Maybe 2 as a backup, and just to have another name, because we need to have at least 2 punks for this to work. Some people in chat are saying we should also add 1 spider and 1 trap, both as a backup in case we're forced to go first, and also just as another way to plus off the field spell. I'm not sure if we want to do that now, but that is an option to consider. Okay, so now that we've decided to go second, I spent a hot minute sort of thinking of what tech cards we would want to make, especially for this particular format. Right now, there's a lot of monster-heavy boards with a lot of both spell trap and monster effect negation. And the kind of deck we're going for with the Amazing Dragon is one that wants to OTK. We can't play something like Dark Ruler No More or Evenly Matched because we don't want to get rid of our battle phase. We don't want to be able to negate the attack because we're not going to be able to put on enough negates to stop our opponent from rebuilding. Our preferred playstyle is to clear the board and then go in for as much damage as possible. So with that, I think the best thing to do right now might actually be kaijus. Put in 3 kaiju slumber, and then we're going to play 2 Gamma Seal, 2 Godarla. Actually, let's go ahead and just bump it up to 3 for now, because the neat thing about these is that not only are they kaijus, but they're level 8s. So if we happen to get 2 of them, we can kaiju one of theirs, put a level 8, and then just normal summon a P.U.N.K and go into like Jam Dragon Drive or something. The fact that these are level 8s means that they have synergy with the synchros we're doing. And plus that also gives us exactly what we need for the last tech card, which is Alpha the Master of Beasts. If you're unfamiliar with this card, level 8 monster, can't be normal summoned, must first be special summoned from your hand, while the total attack of all the monsters your opponent controls is more than the monsters you control. So basically it's a free special summon going second. If you have no monsters, your opponent has anything, they will have more attack than you do. And then you can summon this. This can target any number of beast, beast warrior, or wing beast, return them to the hand, and then return face-up monsters your opponent controls to the hand, equal to the number that you returned. So in a deck like this, that I guess we do have 1 beast, technically if you get Foxy Tune out, you can bounce 2 back, but normally what this is going to do is just bounce itself back. You bounce it back, and then you've got a non-targeting bounce to the hand that can maybe get rid of something big that's like untargetable, undestructible, or more than likely it's going to act as bait. It's going to bait out a negation because they won't want to lose their monster. Now, if this does go through, if they can't negate it or choose not to negate it, the summon is not once per turn, so you can immediately just summon it back again. The bounce is only once per turn, so it's stuck on the field after that, but once again, it's a level 8 that you can use with any of your level 3 tuners, including Ghost Ogre, and then go into your level 8 synchros to get your plays started. Once you get Jam Dragon Drive, you can just like get a Ghost Ogre, get any of your P.U.N.K stuff, start doing P.U.N.K stuff, go up into Pep, go up into Amazing Dragon, and hopefully that'll be enough. Probably not likely. There a lot of times when it comes to tech cards, you're not going to be able to pick the things perfectly just blind. You have to play against a few opponents, do some test duels, see how it runs, and then figure out what combats the meta specifically. But this seems like a pretty good place to start. We've at least got an idea of what we want to do. From here, we've got to fill in the rest of the extra deck. Most likely with other level 8 synchros, just because that's what we can make. Maybe a couple level 8 Ixies too? I mean, we have enough 8s at this point that we can run stuff like the, what's it called, Numeron Dragon? If you're unfamiliar with this package, like, this guy just summons a guy out of the deck that allows you to attack for like 10,000. It's pretty neat. So we perhaps have an alternate win condition if they don't put up enough, or if we just get all our 8s. You can always do Numeron Dragon shenanigans. Ah, Draglubion. I actually got this confused. You make Draglubion with the 2 level 8s, and then that summons Numeron Dragon. And Numeron Dragon can detach. This card gains attack equal to the combined ranks of all Ixie monsters you currently control, which is going to be this level 8 times 1,000. So it's like 8,000 attack. If you've got a clear field, you can go in. Maybe not likely, but probably worth playing just in case. We do also need another Number Dragon Ixie monster that we can attach to this in order to use the effect. And I think probably the best one is Titanic Galaxy. Just throw that in there. This is a nice spell negate if we happen to go first. Alright, and from there we put in 1 Zeus just in case we make one of these Ixies and there's a chance to go into it. A lot of this extra deck stuff is probably not optimal, but we're just picking things that might work. Like Scarwright, Red Dragon Archfiend, this can pop an entire board if you've got a clear open area, or bait out a negate. Again, if you have one of those easy 8s where you just get like a Godarla and then like a Xiamen, you could go into this, and then if they negate that, maybe do some combos with your other stuff. Chaos Ruler is legal, and we could use it to search maybe Ghost Ogre. Also, our level 8 P.U.N.Ks are dark and light, so you can maybe grab one of those. Crimson Blader, kind of a sus option, but against certain decks like Sword Soul and Branded, This can be like almost an FTK. If it destroys a monster by battle, your opponent can't summon level 5 or higher monsters next turn. So you just lock them out of their entire playstyle. And we put a Draco Berserker. It's just big. It's just a big guy that can banish stuff and get even bigger potentially. Also, this can make a second attack during the battle phase, so it's another good OTK card. We got a bunch of good OTK cards in here. Now this would be where I go ahead and jump into duels, but a lot of people have pointed out, Joe, where's Emergency Teleport? Why is Emergency Teleport not in here? This card summons a level 3 or lower Psychic from the hand or deck, and our deck is nothing but like level 3 or lower Psychics, and to that I say, good point. You make an excellent argument. I should probably put this in here. The thing is, I think we just want to remove some of these. Like, we'll get rid of one of the Shirakusai, we'll put this in here. I don't think we want to get rid of one of our hand traps, but cross out Designator. I'm not super worried about winning the Maxi minigame. This is more to stop their ashes if they try to stop us from doing stuff. We're going second, we're going to OTK. Unless they draw into Nibiru, they're dead anyway. So we don't necessarily need to win going second, but we do need to make sure that R resolves and that our other stuff resolves. The Ash is mostly just a decent hand trap while we're going second, although you could replace this with Veilers if you want. Although level 3 tuners in the field of level 3 tuners could work. But anyway, now that we have a deck, finally, let's go ahead. I'll get some Twitch chatters in here, and we'll test this out, see how it goes, see if my building has brought any fruit. Alright, we've got a pretty good opening hand. We've got enough stuff to do stuff, and we're going up against Ice Jades. Not exactly something you're likely to see on a Master Duel, but I mean, it does exist. And they've got the combo. Monsters can't activate their effects, which is unfortunate because I'd like to activate my effects. Oh wait, they don't have the Cradle. And also, this is gone. You have a Moth now. Enjoy Moth. Let's activate the Emergency Teleport. And I think the one we need to go for, like, every time, all the time, is Xiamen, right? Because it just searches all the stuff. So we get Xiamen, we activate the effect, we get the Shirakusai, we normal summon, go ahead and activate that effect, we'll get the Rising Carp, we won't use Xiamen yet because we might get a chance to use it again, and then we'll immediately use the Rising Carp. And we'll get the Wagon and the Deer Note. Now that we have these, we can use the Wagon to get our field spell. Even though we've already activated all our monsters. At least that gives us the ability to like special summon stuff, right? If we need it. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and make the Jam Dragon Drive. The Drop and Deleter. We're going to use all these effects. Deer Note allows us to special summon. We're going to get... We've used all 3 of these. Oh, we could get the Rising Carp back out. Does that help us in any way? Tark gives you the double attack. Oh yeah, I do want the double attack. Okay, we'll get the Carp back out. And then this will search me a tuner. And none of these we can special summon, so let's just grab the Ghost Ogre and add it to our hand. So the Carp comes back out. Oh, we get to draw a card. Because one of our monsters at paid life points. Neat. We'll go ahead and activate the Foxy Tune. And we're going to special summon one from the deck. Let's just go ahead and get rid of an extra one of these. And sure, we'll go for Xiamen. And from here, we... Oh wait, first, we special summon this Gamma Seal. Because we need to get extra damage on and while they control one. Then we make the Amazing Dragon using these 2. Big summon animation. We trigger the effect and the Xiamen. We'll gain more attack on our double attacker. We'll bounce these two back. And yeah, we get 2 attacks. Alright, and we got our kaiju back. See, there's more synergy. And from there, I think we've just got it. The 27 goes in. The 22 go... Oh. What? Excuse me? The fuck is this? Guardian Slime. During damage calculation, make this card gain defense equal to the opponent's monster's attack. Alright, so I've got to attack with this. It'll gain the 2200, but I can only use that once per turn. So it blanks that attack. And I can't use this in the damage step. But I can attack over with this. And I don't get the OTK, but you know, how often are you going to run into Guardian Slime? Against most decks, this would be an OTK. Oh, they're summoning stuff back. They had a whole bunch of hand traps in the ready. We're playing against a really weird deck, chat. They get to discard our card, bring this back, do this, and yeah, I'm attacking the hell out of this. You get out of here. And I guess we go to main phase 2. We end on fucking this. The Cosmoclar, sure. I mean, we could make a rank 8 with these two. Yeah, sure. That actually doesn't seem that bad. It has more attack, and they have spells they want to activate. So let's make the Hope Harbinger. And we'll set this. And we're still in a pretty good spot. You know, we've cleared a lot of their things. We still have interaction. We have big monsters. And yeah, I'm going to immediately just negate and attach that. Give me. Om nom 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 nom. And the other card was Raigeki. They just had Raigeki, chat. That's fine, you know. Sometimes your opponent Raigekis you, and there's just nothing you can do about it. They get fucking nothing. Do 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 do. Passing the turn. Add an Ice Jade. No. Summon an Ice Jade to a zone that points to. No. You don't point to anything anymore. Well, I could do this, and it loses to a lot of stuff, but it also gets damage on board. Sure, we'll put them on the 4-turn clock, why not? And we'll just hope they can't summon anything bigger. Go, go, attack!
2 very boring minutes later.
One more turn! We're almost there! This OTK turned into like a 12 TK. We're gonna get, yeah, we're gonna get it'll be a TTK, you know, we'll get close. They set a card! Those fiends! Okay, now that they set a monster, we can kaiju their max C. So we can summon this. I was gonna go for this and I was like, nah, we'll just do this. And then we make the Amazing Dragon. This is my dragon's amazing, it does cool stuff and it bounces your cards. Cross out designate. Activate it all you want, it won't make your pee-pee any bigger. Oh hey, and because they did that in response, we can get the Jam Dragon Drive. And then we can add a card. Sure, why not? I'll take this to my hand. Maybe we do need more punk cards for the grind game, but then again, this wasn't made for the grind game. Normally, if your opponent doesn't have hand traps and stuff, you're pretty good. So there we go, we get a win. It wasn't easy, but hopefully you saw what this deck can do, even if it goes up against hand trap nonsense. Good decks here, sorry boss. Alright, So this is one of the problems you run into when you play a whole bunch of 3-ofs and stuff. Unexpected die meet very expected ash. No normal monsters for you this day. Unless you opened with it and that was just bait. Was it bait? Are you baiting, son? They might have been baiting just a little bit. Got the Rika Glamour. Tribute 1 plant, but they don't have a plant, but they can get a plant. Okay, it's plants. So this might take a while. They've got real combo hours. So we'll be back when they're done doing stuff. All right, so here's a big potential problem. We're playing against a deck that has a whole lot of spell traps, and we've prepared for like sprite meta, which is a whole bunch of monsters. So we've got stuff to deal with monsters, and not a lot to deal with these back row. They've maxed us, and I don't really care. I don't really care at all, so let's just pass on that.
2 very boring minutes later.
I have made a mistake. Oh? Can you not summon Regulus? They're locked into plants. Ah, I see. So I live another turn, and I can hit them with the interrupted Kaiju Slumber. And in this case, I want to take the turtle and give them this. Because I want them to have more attack than me, so that I can activate the Alpha, the Master of Beasts. And then I can use the Alpha to just bounce my Kaiju back. I get the Kaiju back! Or not. Target 1 monster your opponent controls. Neither player can activate that monster's effects. Alright. Fair enough. Normal summon Xiamen? Where's Xiamen? In perm? Alright. Yeah, I think we want to go for the Psychic End Punisher. I think we want to be the Punisher here. Because if I'm not mistaken, yeah. So we can activate this. We can pay 1,000, banish these 2, and then when I go to the battle phase, this will gain attack equal to the difference. And because I'm so low, this is now 10,000. And yeah, that's what we call an OTK. It was the slowest OTK. It didn't go quite how I was expecting. My opponent messed up somewhere along the way, but we got there eventually. You can see how it works even through a little bit of negation. Because all you need to do is get the Psychic End Punisher or like an Amazing Dragon and something else, and you can punch pretty big. Alright, and there you go. Probably not the best testing situation. We didn't exactly go against meta or anything. But the deck works. Being able to put on a whole bunch of level 8s and level 3s and just make all your stuff. Being able to swarm and just, you know, make the fusion tags out, draw cards, have a bunch of hand traps. I think it works pretty well. We probably don't want to go with these ratios. I'm considering maybe upping the field spell so that you're more likely to grab it. Maybe putting more of these Shirakusais in, or even the Madam Spider again, just so you can draw more. I don't know, and maybe there's too many Kaijus, maybe there's some better Go Second staples. You could consider putting something like Forbidden Droplet in here, or maybe some Spell Trap removal, so if you go against Spell Trap decks, you can actually do something. Maybe stop the floodgates. But for a first attempt, a first try, without looking at any other Punk decks, I think we did pretty well. And most importantly, I learned a whole bunch about Punks. Now that I know what the monsters do and what their playstyle is, I think I have a better idea if I'm playing against Punk, what to negate, where the choke points are at, and how to stop them from doing what they want to do. And how to fight against Pep a little bit once we get there. You didn't see it much in the duels I showed, but this guy's a real asshole. Hard to beat it. Either way, I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank all my patrons for supporting this episode, not only because they donated to make it possible, but also because they voted on which archetype I picked. I occasionally do votes and polls on my Discord, and if you want to be part of that, you can join the Discord for just $1. It's a paywall, but it's like the shortest paywall ever. The smallest subscription you can get. So consider checking that out. Patreon.com/hardleggaming. I assume the editor's putting it up there right now in fancy text. Fancier. There we go. That's what I like to see. You'll also find the link down in the description. You can check that out. So yes, thank you all. And until next time, good luck and have fun.